All right, Scott, episode 10 of the Pickleball Breakdown. I hope you're hungry because it's a meaty one. This is all about how to play the left side. We are going to break this down for our listeners today in 3 key ways. Number 1, mindset. What is the mindset of a great left side player? Number 2, weapons. And with that comes a really honest evaluation of your skills on the left. And finally, number 3, left side patterns that can become your go-to 1-2 plays that you can run on the left. So number 1, Scott, let's get into it. Mindset. Talk to me about left side mindset.
So to me, left side, and I'm gonna kind of talk about things traditional left side, and maybe we can touch on. There are some new ways of doing things that are happening now, but traditional left side is where the right-handed player has their forehand in the middle. How do we optimize that? That's pretty much where it started, because the left side doesn't dominate in tennis the same way it does in pickleball. Because of the size of the court, that big forehand in the middle, there are some advantages if you play it right. So the left side, first of all, is kind of the aggressor. They're going to be taking middle balls, so they're going to get more touches. Therefore, to me, they are the quarterback because they're the ones with the opportunity to implement whatever strategy we discussed. If we want to hit it to, whichever spot or whoever the target is, the left side player, if they're getting more touches, are the ones who are, hitting, they have to run the play that we're trying to run.
This is so funny, you guys. Lightning has struck twice. Scott and I shared notes again for the second time in a row prior to starting this podcast, and we both used the exact same analogy of the quarterback. So for me, if you're playing the left, you got to hunt that ball. You got to want that ball. You're calling the plays. You are the quarterback. Is a quarterback very good if he or she doesn't communicate with the rest of the team, doesn't dictate, doesn't share the plan, doesn't look for input, work with their teammates or their partner to create that plan? I'll let you answer that question for yourself. So Scott, it sounds like you agree in general with that mindset. And now I have a question for you. And this was a question we had so many people write in about. So thank you to everyone who wrote in. We have all of your questions. We're going to try and address all of them. And that question is, how does the mindset change when we, as a right-handed left side player, are playing with a left-handed partner?
Yeah, so to me, the biggest difference when you have 2 forehands in the middle, there's a little more opportunity for middle coverage with kind of with more offense. So you want to use that. But as the right side player who's left-handed, I need to know when to stay out of their way. I like the style of my right-handed left side partner gets to play the alpha role. They can hunt, and I will be supportive. And so we just have to decide, when do I need to cover big middle, and when do I want them to take it? And I kind of... it's funny, I played with someone new and up and coming last week, and he was a tall player, young, athletic, like mid-20s, kind of one of these people that's trying to kind of work their way through qualifying at the pro tournament. So very good player, right? And I'm coming off an injury, and I'm just, slow and, just doing my thing on the right side. And I told him, I said, I want you to take everything you can in the middle. If it's slow and coming across the middle, that is yours. I need you going to get that. Don't think, well, it's a little bit on my side and I'm left-handed, so he's going to defer to me. I'm like, don't do that. If it's fast, I'll take it. If it's slow, you take it. And that's really what I've told my partners. When it's fast, we don't have time to talk. We both go for fast. If it's slow across the middle, let the alpha, the person playing the alpha role, let them take it. And I will usually default to, that's my partner playing on the left until something bad happens, we need to switch that up. Another nice thing of playing with the lefty, we can switch that pattern up and I can do it, but most of the time they do it.
That's really interesting. I was curious how you were going to answer that question, and if I think about the pros in particular, you're right. It does seem like that right side player, despite the fact that they have a forehand in the middle, somehow still take a little bit of a back seat to their left side right-handed player. I think about Augie Gutt and JW Johnson playing MLP on the Dallas Flash together, and I always watch them and think, how do they know whose ball is whose? And it does still seem like you've got one side taking, 10% more of the balls at a minimum. And I want to touch on one thing that you said, which is this notion of clog middle. I played on wasn't the Dallas Flash then, last year. It was just Dallas Pickleball Club, and Dave Fleming was our coach. I believe the only other as winningest coach as Mr. Scott Crandall here. Although, he's had a rough year on Carolina. So I don't know, I might have to go back and look at those numbers. I think your record might be very safe, Scott. And something Dave always used to say to us was clog middle. Clog middle. I don't want to see one more ball go past you guys in the middle. I don't care if you smack paddles. In fact, I want to hear and see you guys smack paddles. And I was like, well, in my head I'm thinking, like, isn't that kind of a bad thing? And I think I actually asked him that, and he said, no, it's not. One paddle will usually beat the other by a little bit. Do you agree with that?
For sure. So when I tell my partner, if I need to have this conversation with a new partner, I will say, right, what I just said before, you take anything slow. If it is coming fast, though, we both have to do it. And typically, I think I told Rick Witzkin this once before a tournament we played in Florida. I said, the person who's more on it will be reaching forward. And that second person who's also on it can reach behind as support. And he happened to have someone like walking around filming us and sent me 2 pictures after the tournament. One of me going big forward, forehand middle with the counter, and his paddle was like 2 feet behind me supporting. And then he had the reverse where he was going big middle and then my paddle was right behind him. And it was like perfect double coverage. So really nice to, communicate with your partner before it happens. These are the ideas, and then go out there and implement those ideas. That is, I played a lot with him, and so it's like being able to have that communication and then go out and do what we say is that's really nice.
I think there's this really interesting fine line and topic of protecting your partner versus taking their balls, this mentality. And Mike Hefty wrote into us and said, middle ball at the NVZ line. It's a jungle at open play in the middle. The higher level players are mostly playing forehand takes the middle. But lower level players typically will go after a middle ball with their backhand. Most don't have two-handed backhands at my level. So I think you answered Mike's question here, which is, hey, if you both are going for it, one player, usually if the left side player is really on it, should beat the other player.
Yeah, there's the forehand takes middle. That's totally a myth. It's like and usually when you see the people who explain that myth, it's that the X. They show the X diagram when the ball is on the right side, right, and you see the X, then it's the right side player who would cover middle, because when the ball's on the right side, that left side player has to cover their line. Mm-hmm. So who has middle coverage, right? So whoever is in front of the ball has to cover their line. Whoever is across from the ball, that's their middle. So you have that X theory. But what about a ball that's what if you dink middle? Mm-hmm. If you dink middle, then that's when you clog middle. You both are on it, and then you can kind of just cover your side. But it is whoever is on it, whoever's quicker to be on it, then you go forward. I also kind of was taught this by Jeff Warnick early on. It's like, because when you play with him, a ball that I think I'm about to hit, he just reaches forward with his big arm and just flicks it in front of me, and we never even clash paddles, because he will just reach out and steal any ball you want. Mm-hmm. Just if you can reach forward and take it from your partner, it's yours.
This might be a little off topic. I'll debate whether keeping this in or not. But when we were playing our very last MLP match, Martin and I had a ball go between us. And you said, hey, Jill, you can actually have your paddle just behind his ready to grab it. And I've never considered that before, Scott, because I'm always really concerned about freaking my partner out. Like when I see my partner's paddle coming, I pull off. So how would I mitigate like freaking him out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And people, like, you don't want to, like, kind of call it, like, you don't want to pump fake your partner, where it's like they saw you move, so they didn't move. This is a mentality. And if it's a middle ball and I see I don't care. I will go too. If I feel like it's also where it's coming from, how on it they are. But I think as a lefty, I have kind of developed the skill of fading middle in that backup, in a kind of with my arm behind me, paddle behind me, with kind of a resetting vibe rather than a swinging at it. I'm also swinging at it. I rarely will hit anyone's paddle because we're both swinging at it in the middle. It's like, I know if I'm early, I can just it's like if I'm on it, then I'm reaching forward. We don't have a problem. If I think you're on it, I'm reaching behind in case, something bad happens, Plus, like, if their ball hits the net and goes over my partner and I'm there kind of behind in support, I make so many off the net cord resets in that behind supportive kind of paddle position. It's a get out of jail free card if you can develop that skill a little bit.
So you said something interesting I want to explore a little further. You said you're shading behind your partner a little. Do you find that the right side player should or will naturally start to shade a little bit behind, maybe, a foot behind the kitchen line or behind their left side partner?
Certainly a right-handed right side partner, because they're not going to have the offense, but they might read the play. Right, and it's like I kind of picture Colin Johns, while he is rarely kind of there in the middle, with Ben. It's like he definitely has the skill of he can kind of get back there and then just be waiting in case, and then just kind of do it from there. So it's a little different lefty righty. Like
sure.
Lefty, like both people can be on it with offense. Usually righties can't be on it with offense as supportive. It's like the righties who are really good with their backhand in the middle are reaching forward and doing damage with it, not clanging with their partner over the same ball.
And we're going to talk more about how to play on the right later. I didn't mean to take us too off course here. So what about middle ball at the baseline? Say you've talked to your partner at the kitchen, you guys feel really good about whose ball is whose. Does the exact same apply to the baseline?
To me, no. Like, to me, it depends on skill set. Like, who has a better drive or better drop. And better might mean more offensive and dangerous. Better also might mean more consistent, depending on like your team's style. I'm kind of a believer in the direction the ball is coming. If it's coming, it's like, what I don't like is when, for instance, the right side player serves the ball cross court at zero to the right side. That return comes back cross court, and then the left side player comes all the way over to steal that with their forehand. Because if they don't hit a good shot there, half the court is wide open for an aggressive fourth, and you've given a bad you kind of have a bad side out there. So there's definitely there's kind of a line on how aggressive should that left side player be based on where the ball's coming from. I think when the team serves to the left side of the court, that is where the left side player can be much more aggressive, because now it's like, okay, the angle the ball is coming from is now going to be a little more in their strike zone. It's not running away from them. It's going to be coming to them, or at least straight at the most. So it's like easier for that left side player to take a ball that is kind of on that 60-65% over line, that is it would be a righty's backhand. If a righty on the right side would be their backhand, well, the left side player can take that one when you're serving on the left side much more easily than a cross-court return coming from the right side and it's moving away. So I think how the angle of the ball is coming is important. Assuming you want that left side player taking that ball.
That is a wisdom bomb that has hopefully not rocked the socks off of everyone listening. You guys, if you want to listen to just one piece of advice from this, maybe just rewind a little bit, because that is so good. That is so good, Scott. As the server, you can serve to purposefully and predictably dictate where the ball will be returned to, who will get to hit your third. So if you're not serving with directional intention, you are making a big mistake. So I love that. Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. So now we've got our mindset right. We've had good communication with our partner. We're feeling really good with them. So let's talk about weapons and an honest skill evaluation. If you love to play the left, or you want to love to play the left, I want you to give yourself an honest evaluation of your weapons. The way Scott and I actually met was I had lost 9-11 in the third playing with Caitlin Christian to Jesse Irvin and Tina Pisnick almost 9 months ago at the PPA at Los Cab. And I wish Scott hadn't been there. If he hadn't been there, I think we could have pulled it off. And he was giving Jesse and Tina some really good advice against me. So I called Scott after and I said, I think I know what you're going to say. I'd love to get your advice. Tell me why we lost that match. And he gave me a really painful and true evaluation of my weapons and my lack of a weapon on the forehand side, and basically said to me, look, if you love the left, which you do, but you only are dangerous from your backhand, that's not a complete left side player, Jill. So if you want to get better, go hit 1,000 forehand volley dinks. And I was like, what does that mean? And he was right. It started to turn into a more aggressive forehand, but it had to start from a foundational perspective of that volley dink, learning to cut the ball off, which developed into learning how to lob volley, how to attack from that position. So ask yourself, grade yourself on a scale of 1 through 5. How's your forehand volley speed up? How's your forehand bounce speed up? How's your backhand volley speed up? Your backhand bounce speed up? How's your Ernie? And how's your aggressive dinking from the left to create pop-up opportunities for yourself and your opponent? So Scott, would just love to hear your thoughts on weapons and self-evaluations.
So, yeah, like if you're going to be a traditional dominant left side player, you want to be able to control, you need kitchen presence. And so you need to decide what is my kitchen presence looking like? If you watch the traditional male left side players like, Ben and Federico and guys like that who are just such good cross court dinkers. They have very good hands. They establish the kind of the cadence and the rhythm of the point. They're dangerous, with their forehands, and they control the point that way. It's like, but not everyone can do that. And if you can't dink all day long, then that's not really a good pattern and strategy for you. That's when what you were discussing is more important. It's like, okay, well, what are my speed up skills so that I don't have to do this all day dinking like the traditional point construction. It's like, the first ball that is either high enough or I have time, I'm gonna attack and run a combo, and let's test out the hand speed and see how that goes. So there are different patterns that you can run, and you need to know what your skills are before you decide what your style is. And I think that's part of the left side player's job is to understand that. It's like, as a team, we are not going to play. The long points don't benefit us. So we're not going to do that. And since I'm touching the ball most, I'm going to make sure that happens. Or vice versa. It's like, that person's backhand dink sucks. we're going there all day, and I'm going to make sure we go there all day. I think one of the things in Challenger, there are a lot of people with dinking issues in Challenger, and I feel like we didn't do a good enough job of exposing it or taking advantage. When someone was a bad dinker, we were not able to take advantage of that often enough. So it's like, okay, well then you'll just have to play the match on different terms. And the people who aren't good dinkers, they're usually good with hand speed and aggression, and so I think we played a lot of matches on those terms, and it didn't work out for us.
Which is not my favorite style of play, as you know, which is why you said, hey, if everyone's pace is going to be quicker on the court, like, you basically have to unfortunately play to that. Like, I'm someone who, the longer the dink rally goes on, the calmer I get. And I think that is such a facet of a good left side player, is believing in your dinking, believing in setting up the point. And the longer it goes, you just feel calmer and calmer and calmer. And the good news is, you guys, you can learn this. You can practice this. 90% of it is just mentality and faith. So I love the long dink rallies and earning the speed up, as you and I talk a lot about. It does seem like, unfortunately or fortunately for some, points are getting quicker and quicker and quicker. I didn't mean, Scott, to ignore when I talked about the 6 weapons at the kitchen. I didn't mean to ignore the weapons at the baseline too. As Scott said earlier, if you are on the left, you probably are naturally going to be taking more third shots than not. And something that changed really my game in the past couple months was when you said to me, drop more inside out, take that forehand, drop more at the backhand side of the left side player. And I had been avoiding that because I'm thinking to myself, well, that's their strongest spot. That's why they play the left. And I've learned that that's actually not true. So talk to me a little bit about why you gave me that advice and why you'd give people at home that advice.
Yeah, I think like a strong left side player, I think people, when they hit when people are hitting fourths at the kitchen, I think more of them will hit an aggressive forehand out of the air than backhand out of the air. So if I'm hitting thirds to these people, then if I'm going to miss high, because I don't want to miss short into the net. So if my miss is going to be a little too far, well, do I want to hit it too far so they can rip a forehand, or am I going to hit it too far and have them hit a backhand? And so I think in most cases so hitting that shot to the back cross court from the left to the backhand side is the play. Now, a lot of the super athletic players recognize this, and they can jump over an Ernie. So it's like you got to be careful how far over you go. But I would say in the women's game, there are less people who can run that play in the women's game, and I think in general in the women's gender game, the backhand fourth is less offensive than the forehand. So to me, that's where, if we're just talking about where do you want to develop your skills, what shot do you want to practice, and what shot do you really want to own? And it's that inside out forehand drop to the left side backhand. And when you watch,
it's just money.
Yeah,
it's just money.
So that's the reason. I also think in the when you're in transition, I practice a lot with Jesse, and so we do all kinds of different scenarios. But one of the ones we do where I'm at the kitchen on the left side and she's in transition on the left, and any ball that I hit to her backhand, she is just so good at cutting. It's basically a big dink. She just kind of cuts that thing over. Now, I'm lefty on the left, so it's to my forehand, but she's not practicing to play me. She's practicing to play a righty. But she's so good at that shot. And to me, that's such a valuable left side player shot, is to be able to reset that ball cutting it cross court. She does it with a cut. There's a lot of people who can hit that with a roll and have it be offensive and do it at a high percentage. So there's multiple ways of doing it, but it's just such a high value shot. And so when we talk about skills that left side players want to have, I've also played many tournaments with Scott Moore. He's also, with his backhand kind of cut, he's so good with that shot. It's like if someone, and he doesn't prefer his forehand drop or drive, so that's one reason he liked playing with me, because he's like, hey, Scott, anything in the middle you take. So nice. We would kind of reverse that. But if it's to his backhand, he just doesn't miss that shot. He gets us to the kitchen at a very high rate on that. So it's like playing with Jesse and then playing with Scott Moore. I really have played a lot and see the value of having that backhand kind of cross court drop. It really is a fundamental.
You know, I don't lob a lot because lobs don't work well on me, and I think I was not dropping inside out enough, because I love it when someone gives me that, but I'm also really, really long, and I ernie and I reach. So I'm not everyone, right? So it's been really interesting bringing that inside out drop way more into my arsenal than I ever had before, and seeing how many girls don't ernie, will let it bounce and pretty much do nothing with it. And if I put enough topspin on it, let it bounce and then miss it. And that's been just really game changing. So appreciate that advice. And if you're at home listening to this and you're like, well, Jill, I already inside out drop quite a bit to that corner. Cool. Now ask yourself, are you ernieing? Are you reaching in on your fourths? Can you do more with that fourth when someone is hitting the third in that direction? Because your mentality should be, I am punishing anything that gets too close to this sideline. Anything. And that includes the fourth. Right, Scott?
Yeah, definitely. I wish I had better instincts for. I think the key to being good at the ernie is recognizing it right off the paddle, the angle, so that you can kind of set your feet and do the jump. And I think I'm too much. I watch the ball and I just get ready to hit the shot. And ernieing this ball just did not really enter. It didn't really enter the progression for me as much as I wish it did. But the people who do ernie a lot, it's almost like it's the first thing that goes through their mind.
It's the first thing I see. It's the first thing I see.
As soon as someone hits them the ball, they're like, "Can I ernie?" Mm-hmm. And I think I need to do some drills where that's the mindset, that's the operating system that runs, because that's not my operating system.
I think what's so cool about this podcast is I can talk about advice that you've actually given me in, very recent time that has been so game changing. And one piece of advice you gave me that I think every single left side player or aspiring left side player needs to hear is, as soon as the ball leaves your opponent's paddle, you need to be doing one thing and one thing only, and that's judging the ball, prejudging the ball. Judge it as early as you can. And you're sitting at home going, well, what else do you think I'm doing, Jill? You're doing a million things. You're thinking about maybe the stove you left on at home. You're thinking about your footwork. You're thinking about your paddle position. You're thinking, where's my partner? You're thinking about where you want to hit the ball, but you haven't even judged the ball. So as soon as it leaves your opponent's paddle, ask yourself, can I take this in the air? Can I do something with this ball? And it's amazing how that quiets all the other thoughts, and it stops my feet from moving backwards, because I get in this habit of like, oh, there's the ball, and I just start backing up. I just start getting ready to let it bounce. So Scott, can you talk to me a little bit about this judgment mentality?
Yeah, I think this is, should we ever do a podcast on the topic of kind of playing in the zone? Mm-hmm. When you're in the zone, it happens so automatically and so naturally. And I feel like one of the things when I'm in the zone playing well is I want the ball and I'm kind of looking for it. It's like anytime they hit it, it's like, please hit it to me. I'm going to do, something amazing with this. I can't wait. It's like, oh, here it comes and I've got this. And that mentality when you're playing well is just automatic. It's not a conscious, it's like, oh yeah, I have to do this. But, we're not always in that perfect mental zone of like, oh, I really hope this ball comes to me. A lot of times we're just kind of working it out. So, but it's like, it really is a practiced skill The way I practice it when I'm drilling is I am always trying to give my hitting partner a perfect feed on the next ball. So as they hit it to me, I'm not just going through the motions and swiping it back. Because if you do that, it's amazing how many, especially if someone's hitting thirds or transition and I'm at the kitchen. If you are sloppy at the kitchen on that, you will mishit so many volleys. And that mishit volley turns into kind of just it kind of screws up the rhythm of the drill, and you don't get a good drill session. And I focus so hard on watching that ball so that I can hit it in the center and control it back to within 3 or 4 feet of the baseline to give that person a perfect feed every time. So I am working on my judging the ball and focus while that person is working on their thirds or their drops or whatever they're doing. And I think so many times when we do clinics and whatnot, and you're like, okay, you guys work on your thirds, the feeder is going to do this at the kitchen, and I sit there and watch, and then I just lay into the person at the kitchen who's just not focusing, and I'm like, this is an opportunity for you. And then they kind of straighten up and feel like they got admonished, which they did. But it's like, you need to be focusing it all the time, and it's practiced.
Love that. Scott, can we talk a little bit about patterns?
Yes.
I'd like to share some of my favorite left side patterns, and all of these are totally practicable with a partner at home. So as soon as you're done listening to this podcast, get your shoes on, grab your paddle, and go practice these. So number 1 on the left is a really simple 1-2. This is a backhand bounce, speed up down the line, and then your paddle goes up right after where? To your forehand. This is a really easy way to funnel the ball straight back to your forehand. So this is a 1-2 combination. You can practice it really slow, cooperatively with a partner, and just say, hey, hit me some dead dinks to my left foot. I'm going to speed up at your forehand. You don't even have to tell them where to put the next ball. It's just going to come naturally back to your forehand. So you're going to bounce, speed up, finish with your paddle right in front of your chest so that you can, boom, get on top of the forehand. Anna Bright, I think she does this the best in the women's game. You even know it's coming. And there's still very little you can do about it. Scott, did you want to say something on that pattern?
Yeah, no, I just watched Anna Bright play that final against Annalie and Catherine, Anna Bright and Rachel, and they beat them in 3 straight games, and she ran that play multiple times. And one of the things I like, yes, a key for that. So Anna Bright has a great two-handed backhand. She hits it down the line, but her forehand is very compact. And so like if you're running this play, keep that forehand out in front of you and small. That would be like, so yes, this is a great pattern. And I think if people with two-handed backhands, usually a good two-handed backhand is kind of a long flowing thing. So if you have that, long and flowing, but you don't want long and flowing on the forehand part of this combo. I think that's my point.
Yep, you're going to feel like your follow-through ends almost in the forehand counter position, just ready for that ball. Again, go watch Anna Bright, or we'll put in a video clip of her doing it successfully here. Number 2 left side pattern. This is potentially my favorite shot in pickleball. It is a crossbody backhand bounce speed up. So again, ask your partner to hit you some dead dinks to your backhand. Open up your face and show that you're going to go line. But guess what? You're not going to go line. You're actually going to go towards the tee of the court. This is cross body. I try and visualize a cone that is maybe 6 inches into the left side of the court at my opponent's baseline. So I'm going to show line, and at the last second, it's a little wrist flick, and the person in front of me is going to leave it for their left side partner to take, but the left side partner is going to think that their partner's taking it. And it's usually, if done right, a pretty clean winner. Now, the fun part is if it's done wrong, it's slammed into your face and it's over. So that's why you really want to show line. Scott, any thoughts on the crossbody backhand speed up?
Okay, yes. This, at our last few events, I was telling Colin Schick pretty much both of these two things. I said, Colin, I want, because he loves his backhand. He has a great backhand, and he likes to speed up off the bounce with his backhand. That's kind of one of his offensive shots. And I would tell him, hey, I want the first one to go line. If you make the first one on the line, they will cover it, and then this middle one, that, just as you described, will be much more open. And if you get that line on the first one, then the next one's going middle, and then they don't know where it's going, and you can kind of do it. Like if you do those two things, oh, you're good. But it really is the first one, and it was so great because the few times that we talked about it in the match, he did it. And as soon as he did the first one down the line, he would look over at me, and then we would just like have this brief moment, and it's like, good. And I'm just waiting for the next one to load. So those two things, they go together. Is my point.
It also goes together with good backhand dinking. So if someone's going to sit in a backhand dink pattern with me cross court, probably on the second or third one, they're just kind of asleep backhand dinking with me, and I'm like, okay. Watch this, right? And I've got them a little bit, that left side player, a little hugging their line, right? So it's a natural opening if someone's going to dink cross court with you for a while.
Did you say the second or third one? Can we have a little patience? The second or third one?
You taught me to be more impatient. You taught me that.
No. Oh, gosh, I hope I didn't.
Oh, my gosh. I like to lull them, think I'm going to dink again, cross court.
How about instead of on the second or third one, how about when I've earned the ball where I have the time to set this up in a deceptive way?
Yeah.
Because that could be the first one, right? If someone, like people who like short hop their dinks, a lot of times the short hop dinks float, you have time, and it's like, oh, you're good. Like you can be offensive on that one. Right? If someone's slicing, like if you're going cross court with someone, like because I practice with Jessie, I use her as an example all the time. But her slice dink is very difficult to pull the trigger on, and you're not on the second or third one. You're just not going to get a ball that you can do that. So rather than saying a number, I would rather kind of prime you for on when you get the time. When you get the time to prep and have both, where it looks like you could go down the line, you could go down the middle. I would. So sorry to like interrupt, but
I
just want to
agree with that.
Fine tune that slightly, because you will sometimes go up against people where it's like, ooh, I can't really speed this ball up.
No, it's got to be a ball where you can show line and not go there. Let's talk about a third pattern, very easy to practice. The backhand flick volley, one-handed or two-handed. Usually you'll see this one-handed. And I get asked ad nauseum from students, well, where should I put this shot? And my answer to this, and I'm super curious to hear yours, is go watch J.W. Johnson, think like him. Can you aim to go to a spot where your opponent is leaving, where their momentum is leaving? You can call this behind them if you want. So Scott, I want to hear what you think about that advice, and then I want you to answer this doozy of a question. If you can't aim your backhand volley yet, but you can do it, you can flick it, you just don't know where it's going to go, should you still do it?
Yeah, those are both. So the first question you asked is where should it go?
Yep.
And like, so I like the look at J-Dub do it. The hard part about looking at J-Dub is he does it. It's so heavy. Like very often, no matter where he goes, it works because it's just so heavy. It's so good. It's too good. So he can hit it to the wrong spot because he hits it so hard, it looks like the right spot. It still wins. Whereas if I do the same thing, it doesn't have anything on it, and then it just gets countered hard, and I lose the point. So when we talk about where to put that on the left side backhand flick. To me, most people sit backhand ready to cover their body, and it's rare that someone on the right side, right? You're the left side player. You're going to attack the person on the right side that's in front of you. most of the time their forehand line is what's open. That's where you would like to go. It's also the hardest shot because when you're reaching out to attack a ball, it's like for you to get your paddle on it in the way that will go to that line, it has to be a really bad shot. And if it's a really bad shot, you're going to win it anyway. You can hit it hard. So the hard part is if the ball is slightly below the net, so it's like it's a dicey attack, and to wait long enough to control it to that spot, that's highly difficult, but it's highly valuable. It's like I've played with a lot of the guys in the senior pro that I've played with. Very few of them have that, and what's funny is I've played so many times. I'll just throw Mircha's name out here. Mircha has a no-go zone. He is so good with his backhand body, like you just can't hit it there. He crushes it. But if you can misdirect and fool him and go to his forehand side, you don't get as offensive a counter. And so it's like, I'll tell my partner, hey, if you get one up, if you can just get it to that side, we might have an advantage. But I don't want you reaching out and flicking it where you feel most comfortable. It's the easiest shot for you to hit hard and flick it there, because if you flick it, even though you're going to flick it into his no-go zone, and that ball is just going to get countered. It's going to get crushed. So it kind of answers both questions. Like, where do I want to go? Like, you want to go to where your opponent isn't ready. Now, if you're playing with someone who likes to scorpion, right? Then the people who like to sit in scorpion, then you do want to kind of go to their low, kind of that low middle, because you can't get this paddle down, low enough. But if someone sits backhand, you want to get them here. So yes, you need to be able to do both. I think it's harder for a right-handed player to flick their backhand accurately down the line. I think that's a very difficult shot. If I was going to work on something, if you're going to pick a skill, I think anyone can reach out and flick it middle. And that middle, that ball gets covered a lot unless you establish that you can put it down the line. What are your thoughts?
I learned my backhand flick from Lauren Stratman over 3 years ago when we played together at the PPA La Habra. If you remember that event, you're an OG. You've been playing pickleball a long time. And we were playing together, and she said, Jill, you're too tall not to have a backhand flick. I said, Lauren, I'm not strong enough. I'm so weak at the time. I can't do it. She went, yes, you can. And at the tournament, she literally fed me balls. And she was right. I could reach in. I could do it. I couldn't control the direction. And it was so weak, Scott, that I would poke it at the right side of the player in front of me. And it was so freaking weak, it would float like it was going to go out over their right shoulder. And every time they'd leave it and it would land in. And I was like, oh my God, this is my new favorite shot. It's so slow and it's so high. It gets left every single time. And so actually, as I've gotten stronger, I swear my one-handed backhand flick is worse. It was its best when I had no power. So my point is, I think if you're listening at home and you're thinking, I can't do it, I'm not strong enough, a lot of it is just taking it in the air and the element of surprise. Don't be too concerned with where are you putting it? Where's their momentum? You're watching your opponents. Just try it out. Try it out. You've got to learn from somewhere. But if you're going to play the left, this is a must-have shot. So I don't know if I answered your question, Scott.
Yeah, no, like you did answer it, because you told me how hard the shot is to do, right? It's like it's not, and I kind of explained it's difficult for several reasons, right? You're changing the direction. Typically, you're changing the direction of a cross-court dink. Right, when a ball's coming cross-court to you, the easiest place to hit it is back cross-court. Taking a cross-court ball and threading it straight up the line, that's about the hardest place to accurately put it. Now you're doing that on something that's slightly below the net, okay, even harder, which means you're not beating the person with pace because you're hitting it from below the net. So now your location has to be great. And so putting all those things together, highly difficult. You need a lot of reps.
Lot of reps. And that leads us to pattern number 5, something that requires a ton of reps. And if you are not proficient at this, I'm sorry, you are not a complete left side player. It doesn't mean you're not a great left side player. It just means you're not complete. And this is the advice Scott gave me 9 months ago. You've got to be dangerous with that middle dink. You have to be. You can have your partner cooperatively literally toss you balls. You don't even need them to hit it off their paddle. Have them toss you middle balls or just even outside of that to get your legs moving, so further into your partner's side of the court, and work on taking as many of those as you can out of the air and flicking them in 3 different directions. If they're high, my favorite place to go is crossbody at the opponent in front of me, trying to get it all the way to their right hip. If it's low but I can grab it, middle is a great place. And if it's low and kind of going away from me, taking it inside out and trying to hit the very back of the left side corner of your opponent. So over the left shoulder of the left side player. Sarah Ansbury actually taught me that shot. I wasn't good enough to execute on it. Man, is she good at that shot. She'll do that off the bounce. Susanna Barr does that shot a lot. Play around with middle dinks as much as you can, especially the volley dinks. Scott, do you like those patterns and shots? Would you add anything or edit anything to that?
No, I like those. I would add to that you need to be also very competent at dinking those same balls as well. Because if you only speed it up from that spot, well, people are going to be ready. But if you have a variety of quality dinks from there, then just because you're reaching out with your forehand does not mean here comes a speed up, because it could be a right. And now the cuter you get with those, and by cute I don't mean cute. I kind of mean, I'm picturing Gabe Tardio when I say this. He reaches out both with his forehand and backhand, and he sort of angles the ball and kind of puts a little something on it. And so when he's reaching out and volley dinking, he's not, it's not just a basic shot. It's like he's hitting a pretty quality shot. And then when he reaches out the next time, it's like, well, he could flick it and do different things. So be good at both the dink from that spot and flicking some of that offense.
No, Scott is totally right. You are totally right here. It starts with the dink. Just like you taught me 9 months ago, you said, Jill, go hit 1,000 volley dinks. From there, you will naturally figure out which ones to speed up, where to speed up, and how to speed up. Totally agree with that.
That is what I said, because you were asking me specifically, well, how do I speed this one up and this one up? And I think I said, hit the 1,000 dinks first, and you'll figure it. I don't need to. You'll figure it. You'll figure out how it works for you. Because I never would have thought, well, when you have to reach further, roll that one over the left side person's left shoulder. And that's a genius spot, because when you're reaching middle, when the ball's in the middle, the players are sitting middle because that's where the attack has to go, right? No one, right? So if someone's sitting with their forehand and you attack their left shoulder, like no one's gonna, like nothing good's gonna happen for them if you can hit that spot. So when you just described that, I was picturing that, and then I think when you and I were hitting,
so money.
The last time you and I were hitting, and we were thinking cross court, you nailed me with that a few times, and it was super annoying.
That's my new favorite speed up from the left, is that over the left side player's left shoulder. I burned Eric Onsens with it like 5 times when CJ Klinger and I played Eric and Mari Humberg, who ended up going on to win gold at the APP Chicago. And at one point, Mari said out loud for like everyone to hear, she's going there every time. Just sit backhand. Don't sit scorpion. Anyway, so yeah, that's my fave. The guy is always so freaked out by it.
Yeah, no, it's like when it is an unexpected. It's an unexpected shot, so it's a nice one. It's a nice one to have.
So our very last pattern that I have, if you want to be a proficient left side player, is aggressive dinking. This sets everything up, you guys. Good, aggressive, solid dinking gets you and your partner the right ball. You earn that ball. Despite me saying earlier I want to speed up that second or third ball, I actually love earning the speed up. And something Gabe Tardio does, which is so much more traumatizing and so much more painful and so much more effective than one of his speed ups, is when you think he's going to speed it up. And he doesn't. And instead, he shows you the speed up and he hits a really off-speed, aggressive dink. And you've already literally started to counter the ball, and now your paddle's in the wrong position, and then you miss a basic dink. I love aggressive dinking. This is my favorite attack shot from the left, aggressive dinking. Scott, anything you want to say there?
Okay, yes. I like aggressive dinking. What I don't want is for people to translate this into, because this is a pet peeve of mine, is I go and watch people and every dink they hit is aggressive. Mm-hmm. Hitting an aggressive dink is almost like when I say you have to earn the speed up. Mm-hmm. You also have to earn the right ball to hit your aggressive dink. Now, it doesn't need to be as easy as a speed up ball, but you cannot just hit every single dink aggressively. There are some people that do, and it's like, well, those are the people you're watching, on the weekend play in these tournaments. They're pros, that's fine. But again, when I go to clinics and people start dinking, I mean, when we did our breakers clinic a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, when they went out to dink, it's like I was watching these cross-court rallies, and they're just awful. Like the dink rally, they just 3 balls, and then it's suddenly jungle ball. And I told them, knock it off. I want the first few to land at least a foot inside the kitchen line. Mm-hmm. And then, once you develop a rhythm, then I want you to work on this roll dink. Because they were all working on their roll dinks. It's like you can't just roll every dink back and forth. You got to be cooperative. So I do want to... Sorry, I had to insert that there because so many people want to hit every ball. I'm an aggressive dinker, so every dink is aggressive. I'm not a believer in that because it's just not. It's hard to hit. You need high skill. There's risk every time you do it. So choose the right ball.
If someone hits you a very aggressive dink, it's very difficult to hit them back an aggressive dink. Like
yes.
I hear you, and I totally respect that. I want to know, Scott, who are your top 3 left side players in the game to watch for people at home from the women's side and the men's side? But first, we have a question from a listener at home. They ask, when is it time to switch? If the left side player is sucking, perhaps, but not even just that. Is there ever a time to switch for the left side player to get in front of the other left side player if they're being really scary and big to protect the team?
So these are great questions to be asking and kind of thinking about while you're playing a match. And one thing that's sort of implied in that question is that there isn't a huge gap in the skill sets of both partners, so that it's like, oh, I could play left, you could play left, we could play straight up, whatever. And so to me, what you want to figure out, well, which of us, based on the opponent, which of us is more optimal to run the pattern against the opponent that we want to run. Because maybe one of us is a solid, consistent dinker, but not that offensive, and one of us is a very offensive dinker. And it's like, well, let's see which one of those is working, because there are valid reasons why both of those might work really well against someone. So let's kind of test that out and see how it's going. Just because, I think there's so many times where if you're playing a super aggressive left side guy on the other side, and then so you put your aggressive left side guy there and he's hitting aggressive dinks, that other guy's just going to start flicking balls and taking it out of the air and attacking. It's like, what if we put the more conservative dinker over on the left? They can hit some dead, unattackable short dinks. Mm-hmm. And now what is that left side guy doing? Is he going to speed those up? And now you have your aggressive guy in front of him, maybe countering. And so I could see the pattern of not the less alpha player on the left feeding the opponent an unattackable ball that they're just going to attack, and then you have your aggressive guy on the right who's there to counter and punish. Because the goal is to win, not to run the play, and the goal is not to run the match like the Johns brothers. It's the goal is to win. And if soft and unattackable works, run that play.
I always say that in every team that you face, there's usually one person who likes it slow and one person who likes it fast, and your job is to figure out who's who and give them the opposite. Along this topic of when do you put the left side player on the right, I got asked today in the Rachel Rohrbacher and Anna Bright match where they just beat Anna Leigh Waters and Catherine, why Anna Bright was playing the right so much. I didn't watch it myself personally, Scott, so I'm going to take it at face value that Anna was playing the right a lot.
Yeah, they played straight up. Actually, they played straight up and occasionally would like half stack Rachel on the left.
Explain that to us. Is it because Anna Bright wants to be in front of Anna Leigh? Is it because Rachel feels she's such a stronger player on the left side and Anna Bright is like, hey, I'll play anywhere?
No. So they're like, as we sit here and talk about left side patterns and left side play, and then we refer to that match, right? That match doesn't have any of the patterns we were really talking about. That match, when those two teams play, the patterns are way different. I mean, the pattern is speed up quick, get into a hands battle, and we're just going to win this hands battle. And 3 out of 4 of the girls like that and do that. I mean, Anna Leigh, any ball she has time, it full send, here it comes, and she is just going to beat you in the hands battle because she's just better.
Yeah.
Anna Bright and Rachel did such a good job of taking Anna Leigh's attack, the counter. I would also, instead of a counter, I would just call it a redirect. Went back to Catherine, and then Catherine would reset it or hit it. She would hit it, but when Catherine hits it hard, it does not. It doesn't end the point. It doesn't win the point. It just gets crushed by Anna or Rachel, whoever's in front of her. So they did a really good job of handling the offense that comes from Anna Leigh, and then not firing back at Anna Leigh, because if you do that, you're gonna lose a lot more than you win. But they really handled all of Anna Leigh's offense well. They just directed it to the right spot, and it wasn't just a reach, block, and then, because usually Anna Leigh just takes the next one too and just crushes you.
Right, she's putting together 1-2s like we talked about. Your job as the left side player is to get your opponents to take your bait. And it sounds like what you're saying is Rachel and Anna didn't take the bait.
No, they were ready for it and put it back in the right place.
Wow.
And so there were not a lot of dinking points. There was some dinking, and it's like it was 3-4, and then someone would see a ball that they can These girls they move their feet so well and they prepare their paddle so well. They have the option to speed up a lot of balls, and so they do. They're very good at it. Like, they're just, the hand speed of all 4 of them is so good. They just want to start it. I was surprised that when Anna Leigh and Catherine were losing, they didn't become more patient. They just tried to hit their way through it, and it's like that wasn't working that day. But they didn't try. I mean, maybe they tried a plan. I think they're aggressive to start. Plan A is be aggressive. Plan B is usually be even more aggressive. And I don't think it's gotten to Plan C yet, where it's like, don't be as aggressive. I don't think they've run Plan C, if that's ever going to be Plan C. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I mean, what am I going to say? They've only lost 3 times, so they haven't needed a Plan C.
All right. Well, I've got my 3 favorite female left side players. Go ahead and share with us who you think are the most complete, or your favorite to watch, men and women, and then I'll give you my favorite 3.
My favorite 3 men left side. I mean, it's hard not to put Ben at the very top of the list because he just does it he just does everything better than everyone else.
I agree with that one.
It's like when I'm trying to think of a different style left side player who I like, because it's like, well, when I think of the next couple of people, it's like, okay, well, there's Andre.
That's
I like
my
how
second.
big he is and he does it. But he's just doing what Ben does, just not as good. Sorry, Andre, but I mean, just
That's okay.
He's so big. But and then Federico is kind of the same thing. It's like, well, that's also just a clone of Ben. And
That,
so
that looks like a clone of Ben. Yeah, he was not on my number 3.
But he's like he does so well. So who else do I like the way they play the left?
I'm loving this like cat I'm hearing growling in the background, or it's your stomach. One of the two. You can be honest.
Sorry, my stomach the mic is picking up.
I love
haven't
it
eaten today.
What about, so for me, number 1 is Ben, number 2 is Andre. What about Hayden?
Hayden, I mean, Hayden's my boy, but like he seems to be having his success on the
right.
I mean, he's the best at doing both, that's for sure, because he has won on the left with Pablo. Well, maybe not a tournament, but it's like they've had like some great results, and Hayden plays the left really well. He does it differently, right? Hayden does not dink cross court the way all those other guys dink cross court. Hayden mixes up the dink. And Hayden, but he hits, his dinks are so offensive. It is great. I like the way Hayden dinks in gender. Don't like the way he does it in mixed. Like if I'm going to be critical of Hayden, and his left side play in mixed still he's got some fine tuning to do there. And that's good. He can't be good at everything all at once. But I think part of that is he dinks too much to the center in mixed, and then what happens? The guy comes over and just rips the ball at the girl. It's like you have to pick different spots when you're playing the left in mixed than playing in gender. So if I'm going to be critical of him, it's going to be the way he dinks in mixed.
So I guess you're just left with J.W. Johnson then, as your number 3 man. Okay.
Yeah,
So our top
J-Dub.
Okay, so our top 3 men are basically are the same. So now let's see if we have our top 3 women matching. Should I go first?
Yes, you go first.
Okay. I am not going to say Annalie Waters because it's just too obvious. And I also think she can just play any side, anywhere on the court, with her eyes closed, with a hand behind her back, and win. So I'm not going to say Annalie Waters because she's not number 1. She's number 0, right? She's just in a stratosphere of her own. So we're going to talk about mere mortals. So number 1, Anna Bright. I'm looking at this as complete left side girls. They can be dangerous on the backhand side, the forehand side. And then number 2, Etta Wright. There's not a lot of women against whom I play where they can get in the middle of the court and take over, and you feel like you're playing mixed doubles, and that's a big, tall, strong guy. And Etta has that presence. She has that presence in the middle of the court when I'm hitting thirds and fifths and sevenths and trying to survive. And then third, I'd say, might surprise you, a female who typically plays the right is Georgia Johnson. She is so darn good on the left. I had the pleasure of playing with her at APP Sacramento. I played the right, she played the left. I think the left is her preference, but she's just so talented at both sides that it's like if she's playing with Tyra Black or Mari Humberg and they want to play the left, Georgia will play the right. But when I played with Georgia at APP Sacramento, I was just like, oh my gosh, her pickleball IQ is massive. So those are my top 3 women.
So in this context of we're talking about left side play, so the one person that I would add to the list is Tyra because of her presence. Her court coverage and her hand speed and what she can do. And I don't consider her a great dinker. I think her dinking is average, but now she doesn't miss them anymore. They're not offensive at all, and which is fine. They aren't, as long as they're not super attackable. So they've become less attackable, and as they've become less attackable, her results have gotten much better because of all the other stuff she brings. Because she puts that dink there, and then she just kind of posts up in the center of the court. And once the hands battle ensues, I don't think anyone puts the ball away like more efficiently and in such a variety of ways as she does.
Totally agree with that. And she should never learn to dink any better than this, because why would she? She should just pop every single thing up as high as she can and be like, come attack me. Like, literally. She doesn't need to dink any better.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with that, but I would say in terms of things you want to be a good left side player, she's kind of proof that, well, you don't have to be an excellent dinker to have left side presence and be dominant. And like, she's dominant, she's aggressive, she puts the ball away, she covers a lot of court. And what else? Well, she's not known for having like a dominant drive either, right? So it's like, okay, a few of the things that people would expect a great left side player to have, I would say she's just okay at those, but excellent in some other things. So it's like, okay, that's a dominant left side player. You took Etta away from me. I wanted to I Etta is, I have liked Etta's game. The first time I saw her play, Jessie was in Mesa in 2021 or early 2022, something like that. And she hadn't been as established as a great player as she is now, but like, I saw her when she was, her partner was just a local person. But I saw the way she hit the ball and how smooth she was, and I'm like, this person could be so good.
Yeah, very complete game. Very complete.
Yeah, I was very happy to be able to draft her onto the Breakers last year for the second season of last year. And so, she's so smooth with her dinking, right? Yep. She just kind of puts the ball where it belongs. She has great presence at the kitchen in terms of her hand speed, and she doesn't overdo it. It's like her shot selection is really solid. She's never going for doing something dumb because she wants a highlight. She's just efficient and just kind of a cool customer. Totally. And it's great to see that, there's all kinds of personalities in pickleball. And I don't mean personalities off the court. I mean personality style on the court that can work. And she's just super cool. And she's just going to beat you with percentages and standing in the right place. I'm a huge proponent of positioning. It's when you position yourself right, you just make yourself better. And she positions herself so well on the court. Yep,
very nonplussed.
Mm-hmm. And I'll take AB also in that list just because she's the second best player in the world. So why not just put her over there on the left with that backhand and those fast hands.
Exactly. All right, you guys, don't forget to write into us because our next podcast is all things from the right side. And who better to talk about that than the lefty, SoCal lefty himself, Scott Crandall. So you can write your questions into us at thispblife@gmail.com. You can Instagram DM us. Scott is at SoCal lefty. I'm Jilly B Pickleball. Send a pigeon. We are so excited for the next episode. We are out. Thanks for listening.